Okay. We are on Daf Memvav on base. The fourth line down. Now I have to start with, actually, the truth is I should start with Memvav and Ralph at the bottom because it's really one long sugya. So let's do that. Let's start from Memvav and Ralph at the bottom. 3 lines up. Tanya Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan Broka Omer, Shamati b'Keren B'Yam, the Heron Keren B'Yam, the Kosher Eino Ela Beitza Achas. Anybody only has one testicle? Eino Molid. He doesn't give birth, but who's Sris Chama? Sris Chama means that he is considered to be Mutzer B'Kol. There's Sris Chama, which literally means a soris at the hands of the son. But that's not really what it means here. What it means here is that he's permissible to join the congregation of Israel, despite the fact that he cannot conceive a child. Rabbi Yossi Shamati halacha Rabbi Yochanan Broka. I heard also Rabbi Yochanan Broka. V'leisana yoda miman shmois. I do not know from whom I heard this. Rabbi Yima, Rabbi Yima said, Lova Rabbi Yud, Lova Rabbi Yossi Shama Lo. I mean, Barnash here, he wouldn't have heard it from a small person. He obviously heard it from somebody big. Shmuel Amar Im Yovo Lefonai Baal Beitza Achas Ani Machshiro. Therefore, if somebody comes to you with one testicle, I pronounce him kosher l'kol. Rabbi Chuna Amar Du Savak Rabbi Shmuel V'Nosh Rabbi Yochanan, because he holds like Rabbi Shmuel, son of Rabbi Yochanan Broka, that one testicle suffices. Rabbi Yudan Bar Chanin said, "I mean, now this is major problems. Major problems, because here it says specifically the right one. And therefore the poskim are full of literature. What do you do if that's the left one, which is left? Why the difference between the right one and the left one? And so what complicates the thing, well, if it just said the right one, so what are you going to do? It says the right one. It's not the Bavli, of course. Bavli is not differentiated. But here's the Pnei Moshe brings down, which is Uruvat Shleiman. In other words, as long as they were not wounded. In other words, Pnei Moshe says both of them were not wounded. In other words, the one which was removed could not have been damaged before it was removed, and the one which is around must still be healthy as well. So there, if that's the girsa, Shali means it's got to be the right one. But even if it's damaged, if the girsa is shleiman, so it doesn't matter which one remains, but they have to be intact, and even the one which was removed has to have been intact. So therefore, it's a major nafkamina halacha for people who, Rachmana litzlan, have such wounds, right? Have such problems. When they're mutter b'kol, when they're not mutter b'kol, and the poskim are full of discussions like this. It seems people got all used to times get inflammations and infections of testicles and lose them. And I don't get, probably doesn't happen nowadays as much because we have antibiotics. But in the old days, it actually was seems to have been a prevalent enough question to make it into the Chuvas literature.
When I remember anatomy and everything,
yeah.
First of all, a man is not sterile if he only has one testicle.
Yeah. Also, the Gemara says the Farshim Ray says it's not dafka he's sterile, but it's much more difficult for him to give birth. It's much less likely. But yeah, okay.
Secondly, is that the circulation is different between the left and the right.
Huh?
And the left has the venous drainage is different because it goes into the vena cava differently. The main vein that goes into the back to the heart.
Oh, so really is a difference between the left and the right?
Yes, anatomically there is a difference.
Oh, that's fascinating. Left and right testicles. So then the Gemara does have a point with it.
There is something that's...
Okay, so that's a very important point to make.
It makes a difference as far as...
Give me word. No, I don't think it makes a difference as far here as a person's potency. I don't think that's the difference here. It's not recorded what the difference is, but in fact, there is a difference, right? That would be very significant. Okay. Asa uvdo kumi Rabbi Yami. His case came from Rabbi Yami, where a guy only had one testicle left. Amalani said to his wife, "In Barti, yes, it's correct, my daughter, that Sharila, you are permissible to him. Elahavi Yadis, but you should know the low molid. He's not going to conceive." And have a Rabbi Zir Makalis, Rabbi Zir praised the statement, "Do it should be make him not mesim, or mesim can mean the same thing actually. He would place milsa bar, he placed the thing in proper perspective, meaning he clarified it, meaning he told the girl, yeah, you could stay married to her, but you have the right to demand the divorce because you're probably not going to have any kids. So since you're probably not going to have any kids, the halacha is a woman can demand a divorce if the kids are not in the picture. Okay? No, it's not. But I assume this happened after the marriage. I don't think it happened at the time of the marriage. I assume it's afterwards. Okay, the next Gemara, we're going to learn the way it says it inside, but there's a lot of questions of Gersos here, and there are some math changes around the entire Gemara, but we'll just learn it straight. Tani, they're those who learned, Bidei Adam Pasul, Bidei Shemayim Kosher. Petzua, I said the word Petzua, sorry. Petzua, now Petzua is a wound, right? The damage to the testicle. Each time those who learn, Bidei Adam Pasul, if the damage is done by a human being, so it's no good. Bidei Shemaim, if it happens by a affliction, in the hands of heaven, a disease, kosher, it's okay. Each time those who learn, Ben Bidei Adam, Ben Bidei Shemaim, whether it's in the hands of a person, in the hands of you or God, it's possible nonetheless. Man b'dei adam pasul. He who learns that it's possible that it happens at the hands of man. B'dei shmayim kosher, if it happens at the hands of heaven, it's okay. Yochel mamzer learns it from mamzer. It says lo yavo mamzer. It says a mamzer shouldn't enter in the congregation of God, and then it says lo yavo p'tuadaka. A person who has a wound should not come. A wounded or crushed or falling testicles should not come to the congregation of God. Man b'dei adam b'dei shmayim pasul. Mamzer, the other, just like a mamzer, it's at the hands of a human being, meaning the parents are the ones who are responsible for its predicament. Apsuadako, who is forbidden in the congregation, is the other one who human beings are responsible for his problem. Says the Marman, baby the other, baby the Shmai Apostle. You all said, no matter how it befell these apostles, Minol, and how do they know? Minole, how do they know this? Amar Rab Mon said from here. Le'avob tu'adaka le'olam. It says le'avob tu'adaka b'kal Hashem ad olam, or le'olam. I forget what exactly it says above there. But forever, they don't darshan forever, not just forever in time, but rather under any circumstance, meaning whether the wound occurred artificially or naturally. It's also possible to learn from mamzer according to this perspective as well. How so? Loyavo mamzer, there's a parallel. Loyavo mamzer may not enter the congregation of God. Loyavo p'tuadaka, and somebody who has this wound may not enter the congregation of God. Mamzer b'dei shemayim, just like a mamzer is at the hands of heaven. The more it's going to ask how so. So the p'tuadaka, even if it happens at the hands of heaven, is also to come to the congregation. Ask where a mamzer b'dei shemayim, does a mamzer happen in the hands of heaven? Mamzer happens in human hands, doesn't it? Says the word no. Yitzirasa b'dei shemayim. God created the mamzer. Of course, it took the husband and wife to conceive the mamzer, but God also participated, and therefore it's forbidden. Also by p'tuadaka, which happens at the hands of heaven, there's a prohibition for a Jewish woman. Says Gemara, having boy member that wanted to say man damar b'dei adam pasul b'dei shmayim kosher. He who said that at the hands of human beings it's not good, at the hands of heaven it's okay. Rabbi Shmuel ben Osh Rabbi Yochanan Meroka, it's going like Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Boka, who said that if a person has one, the way Rabbi Yochanan ben Shmuel ben Osh Rabbi Yochanan ben Boka expressed himself, he said a person has one testicle left, he's like a Sri Schama. I mean, he's like a natural eunuch. A natural eunuch, he said, is okay. So it sounds like he's saying that b'dei shamayim, if it happens at the hands of heaven, it's okay. Only b'dei adam, only if human beings cause you this problem is no good, right? And he said, regardless, it's possible, whether it's in the hands of heavens or the hands of human beings. That's like Rabbanan, right? Who say that, who we assume hold that by one testicle is possible, and we assume that they don't make the parallel to Sri Schama to say that it's like a natural eunuch, and we assume that therefore they hold a natural eunuch is no good. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov bar Papi kumi Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Yaakov, son of Rabbi Papi, said for Rabbi Zira, Kula Krabananhu. Even Rabbanan agree that bidei shamayim, if the testicles are afflicted by disease at the hands of heaven, so then you're not possible, unless he previously became a psuadaka bidei odom. Okay, unless he became psuadaka by human intervention. But if you became psuadaka just by the hands of heaven, then even Rabbanan hold you're okay, right? Right. And furthermore, if let's say that the testicle got certain type of disease called chatotin, it should be mechatech not mechache. If the doctors then amputate the testicle, or messiahs, somehow, some another way, chop it out, even though here the completion of the eradication of this testicle was at the hands of a human being, it done at the hands of heaven, because it was first destroyed by disease, and then only afterwards destroyed by human beings. So then the halacha would be that if the testicle is removed by human beings after it becomes diseased, that would be okay still. Okay, it's only if the initial damage was done by human beings that it's a problem. Okay? Says Mar, getting back to the other part of the genital area, ukrus shavcha. What's a krus shavcha? Kol shenichras hagid. Anytime the aver itself is chopped, nishtayr bator afilu kechut kosher. If you have left on the crown of the aver, even a hairbreadth, that's okay. Now, what do we talk about the crown? Rabbi Yossi b'sher Chanina said, "Batora el Yona." This is the upper part of the crown. The upper part of the crown is I believe is understood to be the outer part of the crown. So you have to have some stuff left in the outer part of the crown. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Chanina said, "Ba'torah tachtona," even on the lower part of the crown, meaning the part close to the body. So actually, you can chop up closer to the body and still be kosher, right? So according to the first opinion, it has to be left from the lower part of the crown, from the lower part of where it slopes, right? According to the first shot, no, I'm learning that. I forgot. I'm getting confused. Ator Eliona means where it slopes, the upper part, right? Oh, well, I'll use my pen. Ator, it's because we're going to have a case like a pen later on. Ator Eliona means up this part over here. Ator Tachtona means closer over here. Let's say this is the beginning of the Ator over here, this rim. Right? So the first opinion which holds you need part of that Torah Yona means you have to is more machir, you require more intact. If only needs a part of that Torah Tachtona, so it's only up to here, it's less machir, you need less intact. Tamar see now later there to saw they said if it's made like a drainage canal, meaning that the somehow the top of the aver became open. So it's kosher, it's okay because it's going to heal. Rabbi Hila b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said kukumus, if it's like a pen, right? In other words, it's not crowned. You only have the slope on one side, really like this pen, right? It's only sloped on one side. Normally, you expect to find it sloped on all sides, right? Like Gemara describes, like a cone. But this is only shaped on one side. So kukumus areza kosher. Now kukumus means if it's like this actually, like a pen, right? And this is towards the ground. Kukumus hafuch, if for some reason it's like this, then that's possible. Okay, I don't know why, but that's possible. Okay, nike bomi if named possible. If the hole is in the main body of the aver, so that's possible. There's an additional hole there, right? If there's a hole, however, an additional hole on that Torah itself, so that's okay. Okay, as long as this whole area doesn't have a hole. Rabbi B'Shem Yehuda said, "Mivifnim min ha'Torah v'lifnim," from just explaining from the inside of the Torah and inwards. It is inwards. Mivchutz mivifnim is min ha'Torah v'lifnim, from the crown and inwards. Mivchutz is min ha'Torah v'lchutz, and from the outside is from the Torah and outwards. Now, nikev ha'reis apostle. If there's a puncture, so that it's possible, right? There's a hole. And this time, if the hole gets sealed up again, harays a kosher, then it's okay. Okay, so actually, if it heals, or let's say you have surgery and you close any holes in the aver, you plug them up, so that's good. That makes the guy kosher love of a call. He's okay. Nikev harays apostle. Why is when it's punctured as a apostle? Bimneshu shofech, because it spills out. This time, I raise a kosher. If it once it gets closed up, it's kosher again. Mibneshu moli, because he can give birth, right? In other words, when it spills out, he can't give birth. When it's closed up, then he can give birth. And since you can mend this, so therefore it goes back. It's possible for this to go back to its texture, even once it became puzzle. The truth is, there's no difference, says the one between P'tua Daka and Krushavcha, but except for the following: P'tua Daka choser. P'tua Daka is a wound or a crushed situation, which can go back. Krushavcha, if it's cut off or spills out somewhere else, Eino choser, can't go back. In other words, the difference in medical conditions, that one can change, one can't change. And the truth is, by what can change back and heal one person might not change another person. So the difference is what heals and what doesn't heal. Okay? How do you heal a hole? Ketzarosa, what do you do? There's actually in the Bible as well. It's not a particularly pleasant remedy. One wonders why they didn't just invent stitches at the time. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda said, maybe in the molin, you bring ants, umanashkin, and they bite from one side of the hole to the other, the cotates, and then you chop off the ants' heads while they are somehow embedded there. I don't know exactly how it works, but then the ants act as the stitches, and the flesh of the aver grows up around the ants and closes up the hole.
It stimulates scar tissue.
Scar tissue, right?
Because stitches do also.
Because it binds
it.
Yeah.
Then fibrous tissue grows to bridge.
Right.
The gap.
So ants were the first dissolvable staples, I guess. They actually, or tiny.
What kind of ants are they? Red ants?
Yeah.
The fire kind.
Yes. Yeah. So they're biting ants, whatever occasionally. So this is not necessarily a pleasant proposition, but hey, yeah, it works, right? That's right. So you got to do. Sacrifices are necessary. Right. Rabbi Chilke, I don't think you want your child to know about this. Rabbi Chilke, Rabbi Simon Hashem, Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Lo Shana, now this is a bummer. I don't think the Bible passed like this, but I actually didn't look it up. Lo Shana el P'tua Daka Yisrael. This came back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said P'tua Daka can marry a mamzeres. A Gioris. P'tua Daka can marry a Gioris. In fact, I remember hearing years ago, I don't know about whom, maybe it was about Rabbi Amram Bloy, the head of the Turei Karta for many years, that he was wounded during the War of Independence.
That's why he married the Gioris.
And that's why he was married to Gioris. Yeah.
It was a big scandal when he did that.
He put him in the harem, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think put him in the harem, but he lost all of his Turei Karta followers.
Yeah, I don't know if it was him per se. Maybe it was somebody else I heard about, but it was somebody of that prominence in that community who had a shrapnel wound, and made him a P'tua Daka, and as a result he married a Gioris. Maybe it's just that I put two and together, since Amram Bloy married Gioris, and then he was the one.
Out of the blue.
What?
It was out of the blue.
Yeah, but I seem to remember that it was him, but I'm not 100% sure. No, they got shrapnel. The shrapnel. I believe he was fighting for the Arabs.
The Jordanian side.
Remember the Jordanian Legion. Okay. Says the Gemara further. So that big bummer is Rabbi Chilke and Rabbi Simon B'Shem Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Lo Shalom P'tua Daka Yisrael. It's only P'tua Daka who's Yisrael. Ava P'tua Daka Kohen Lo B'dah. P'tua Daka Kohen is up the creek. There's nobody he can marry.
I think you skipped
Did I skip? I didn't read that yet.
You read it. Oh, I'm ahead.
You're ahead, right?
Just repeat it.
Yeah. So it's a major bummer. Because the guy, the P'tua Daka is a Kohen. Kohen's not allowed to marry Gioris. He's not allowed to marry Gioris. Who's the king?
The Kohen says Asr b'mamzeres.
Where?
Maybe we have the wrong spot.
The Pnei Moshe says Gioris. Where's the Pnei Moshe? Carbonate,
5 lines down from when it gets wide.
No, that's further down. No, it's further down.
P'tua Daka Kohen Asr b'mamzeres. It's probably. Oh, there was a discussion later in mamzeres.
Yeah.
It is the wrong place.
Okay. So, Talmud even learned of their closer in level of the call. Asur level zebzeh. Anybody who's forbidden to marry, to come in the congregation, all the people forbidden congregation are allowed to marry each other. Rabbi Yehuda says it's Asur. Now, we don't know what Rabbi Yehuda Asur, but Rabbi Yehuda is answering a mamzer to marry a mamzeres, it seems. Which is, of course, the question, why not? And the Gemara is going to really clear this question for great length. But there are two possible reasons. One is because he might hold that a apostle can't marry a psula. Just because these two wrongs don't make a right. She's apostle, she's psula, but they can't marry each other. The other is that it's a Xerid Rabban, that there shouldn't be more mamzer. Was we tried the Mishmal and say, so actually we don't let them marry, according to that position, we really shouldn't let them marry anybody. But we certainly don't let them marry, in some, we try to limit the amount of marriages they have possible. Okay? Now, that's the Brisa. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, close, general principle. P'tua Daka Yisrael mutar lisam im mamzeres. A man as a P'tua Daka who's Yisrael is allowed to marry a mamzeres. Okay? So this is an interesting thing, right? Really, even though he's Yisrael, since he's not allowed to marry regular Yisrael, he's allowed to marry mamzeres. Rabbi Yosef said no. Bilvat psul mishpacha. The only types of people who are allowed to marry each other, ones which have psuli mishpacha, such as a mamzer with a ammonis, right, or ammoni with a mamzeres, right, an ammonite, but not a psul daka, because he doesn't have a psul mishpacha. He only has a psul aguf, right? It's a problem with his body, not a problem with his family. So he retains his intrinsic kedushas Yisrael. So he's not allowed to marry a mamzeres according to Rabbi Yossi. Okay. Says the Gemara again, only when the problem is a family problem, but not when it is a bodily problem. This is the proof of Rabbi Yossi. Minados from that. Dam Rabbi Chilka, Rabbi Chilka said Rabbi Shimon Levi, Lo Shana B'P'tua Daka Yisrael, who's allowed to marry a Giores, a P'tua Daka, a person who has this wound in his genitals, only if he's Yisrael. P'tua Daka Kohen, lo. As we said, P'tua Daka Kohen is not allowed to marry beneath the station. K'mod Atamar Tamani Kohen Borehu Pasul Lisa Giores. So just like we say there, if he's clearly a Kohen, even if he's a P'tua Daka, he's not allowed to marry Giores. By the way, this is perhaps a proof for Moshe Feinstein's Shita that if a Kohen is not clear what his status is, then he's allowed to marry Giores. As you know, Rav Moshe has kulas for Kohanim who are Bali Tshuva or such like, and do not have strong traditions in their family that they were Kohanim, that they may marry people, people who would otherwise be questionable. And here it says quite clearly, right? In Kohen Boror, he's a P'tua, if it's a Kohen Boror, even as a P'tua Daka, he can't marry a Gioris, right? Yisrael Boror, a person's definitely Yisrael, well, of course, allowed to marry Gioris because he's a notch down. So he can marry Gioris, but also Lisa Mamzeres. Now, allowed to marry Mamzeres. Now, Aldaiti to Rabbi Yehuda. Mamzer lo Yisa Mamzeres. Rabbi Yehuda say now the Mamzer can't marry Mamzeres. Yishmina min ador. Why is that? Let's learn out from here. Rabbi Yami Tani, Rabbi Yami said Tani Rabbi Yaakov Gavlai, Okum Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yaakov Gavlai said, or Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yitzhak Batali said, Mishem Rabbi Shimon Lakish. The words Rabbi the Mams of Yisrael Mamzeres. Why was that? Kadesh Liskalu Mamzer Minoilam. So Mamzerim should eradicate it from the world. So he is clearly learning that it's a Gzeira. Right? The rabbinic decree, we don't want a Mamzerim to get married to diminish the amount of Mamzerim in Klal Yisrael. Now the Kavasa. Now, well, what's the status? Do I say something about Ammoni, Lo Yisa Ammonis, that an Ammonite might not marry an Ammonitess? So I'm Rabbi Yosef Berabun, I'll say Al Rabbanan Nitzracha. This is not a question according to now, according to Ridvaz, even though there are many other interpretations here, but the Ridvaz works out the smoothest here in the next Gemara. He says, look, this is not a question according to Rabbi Shimon Lakish. According to Rabbi Shimon Lakish, of course an Ammoni shouldn't marry an Ammonis. What happens if an Ammoni marries an Ammonis? More Ammonites who are not allowed to marry Jews. We don't want more Ammonites. Down with the Ammonites. So therefore, we're not going to allow an Ammonite to marry an Ammonitess. Right?
Maybe the Gemara is referring to an Ammonis who's a Giorus.
Of course it is. Yeah. But still, if he's an Ammoni and he marries her, so her kids are going to be apostle, right?
Because she's not supposed to marry, because she's now a Jew and she's not supposed to marry him. Right.
So, but the thing is like this. The Gemara says, according to Rabbanan, it's not a question. According to Rabbanan, I'm sorry, that's according to Rabbanan, it's not a question. Ammoni should be allowed to marry anybody, in order, whether it's an Ammonis or not. So he's not going to increase the amount of psulim. However, it's necessary now to explain according to Rabbanan, who hold it's a status thing. The reason why a mamzer can't marry a mamzeres is because they're not of equal status. I mean, they're both possible, but they're not the same type of psul. So now the shaila is like this. Din is bar Rabbi. What does Rabbi Yehuda hold about gerim? What does Rabbi Yehuda hold about gerim? The in yisbar Rabbi Yehuda and gerim psulim kala sheminun. If Rabbi Yehuda holds that gerim psulim, meaning the ammonim who are gerim but possible what we call, are distinct call into themselves. Call Hashem here. The Hashem is not Romain, but means they're a distinct category to themselves. So then, what's the status of ammoni ammonis? Lisa ammonis eno yochol. If an ammoni can't marry an ammonis, why? Shu ka'al Hashem, because it's ka'al Hashem, it should be etzlo, vis-a-vis him. Meaning that marrying ammonis would be a notch up for him. Why would ammonis be a notch up? Because we paskin that ammoni v'lo ammonis, moavi v'lo moavis. That ammonis and moavis are allowed to marry into the Jewish nation immediately, like Rus did, right? Because there's only a ban on the males, not on the females. So if that's the case, and Ammoni can't marry an Ammonis because that's going in beyond his station, right? Because his station is one of the lowest stature, right? And it's going up to a higher stature because she's allowed to marry a Jew, right? Lisa Mitzris and Yochel. On the other hand, he couldn't marry a Mitzris either. A Mitzris is what? Egyptian, thank you. Why? Because Shukal Hashem Etzlah, because he is holier than she is. Which is a fascinating concept. How is he holier than she is? The Ammonite than the Egyptian? Because
she's not allowed until the third generation.
Yeah, but he's not allowed ever. So why is he more holy than her? Right? So rather, unfortunately, explain, because no, because her children can't join, whether they men or boys or girls, until the third generation. But his girls can join Am Yisrael immediately. So he's a better call because he can join Am Yisrael earlier than she can join Am Yisrael. Not he himself, and not his sons, but his daughters, yes. Whereas her daughters can't until the third generation. So what's the story with Ammoni and Ammonis? We assume here that he's stuck because since it's a status thing, so he can't marry an Ammonis and he can't marry a Mitzvah, right? Who's he going to marry? Good question. We're going to see in a minute. So he can't marry a Ammonis because he's below her, and he can't marry a Mitzvah because he's above her, right? Tanya says, we release for him a slave and he marries the slave girl. Now, This is a major machlokas here. What exactly this means? Moshe Korban basically learned we haven't married Ramonis, or for that matter, a mamzer would be the same thing. We haven't married the shivcha while she's still a shivcha, right? While she's still a shivcha, and then we release her. And the more probably it says the mamzer is allowed to marry shivcha, and then you release the kids, right? So the kids become mutar b'kol, right? Because they're not. When they're avodim, they can't become mamzer tika avodim. There's no such thing as transferring the status of mamzer to the kids who are avodim. So that way, they when they're free, it's released, they get their freedom. So then they're free to go, right? Because they didn't get the status of mamzer. But here, it's the Rashba says it's talking about a shivcha mamish, who's mamish released, and right after she's released, the Ammoni can marry her. And the reason for that is what the Ridbaz explains. Is because the concept of kohol only applies to Am Yisrael, Kohanim, Levim, and Gerim, but not to Avodim Mishpachos even once they're released. Meaning a ger directly from Goyishkeit to Yisrael is of a higher madrega than somebody who stopped in the state of Abdus or Shivchus and then was released. So even though Rabbi Yehuda holds there's a concept of Kal Gerim, and one type of psul within Gerus can't marry another type of psul Gerus because of the status thing, but the lowest rung on status totem pole, below even Gerim psulim, is Shivcha. And for a person who's on the lowest level of Ger Posel, an Ammoni, he can still marry a Ger Shivcha. That's what... not a ger shivcha. They will still marry shivcha mishuchreres, a released slave. That's what Ridbaz explains it. Okay, it's a little bit difficult, but that's how he explains it. The Shemina Minado. So the Kavos, now the Gemara asks a different question. A similar question, however. Mitzri lo yisa mitzris. Now, according to Ridbaz, we're going back according to Reish Lakish. According to Reish Lakish, who said that you don't want two people to marry each other because they're going to make more psulim. What about Egyptian marrying an Egyptianess? Now we know an Ammoni should marry an Ammonis, a Moavina and a Moavis, but what about a Mitzri marrying Mitzris? It's true the next generation is not going to be mutter, but eventually the third generation is going to be mutter. So do I prevent them from getting married according to Yerushalmi Yevamos in order to not get to the third generation, or is it do I allow them to get married nonetheless? The Shemina Me'adah bring a proof from here. Tari Rabbi Avo learned, Kumi Rabbi Yochanan from Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda said, Bin Yamin, a certain fellow, Ger Mitzri, he was an Egyptian ger, Vitamidish Rabbi Akiva, and students Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi said to Rabbi Akiva, Ni Ger Mitzri, I'm Egyptian ger. Nasa Ger's Mitzris, I'm married to an Egyptian Gioris. Beni, Ben Ger Mitzri, my son will be the son of Mitzri, means he'll be a second generation Mitzri, only the third generation is permissible. Bani Mitzri, Gioris Mitzris, and I'll marry him off to somebody who converts from Egyptianhood. Nimsa Bemini, Kosher Lavokol. That way my grandson will be Kosher Bakol. So Akiva said, not precisely. Lobani, not the way you would describe it. El Afata Asil Labask Gioris Mitzris. When you marry off your son, marry off to the daughter of an Egyptian Giores, Kedeshu Shlosha Midaris Mikan, the Shlosha Midaris Mikan, in order to be 3 generations on each side. Okay? So that way, in other words, it shouldn't be that a Mitzvah Sheni marries a Mitzvah Rishon, because then it steps back in time. But that's what this Binyamin Ger Mitzvah is suggesting, that his son is Mitzvah Sheni, marry an Egyptian Gioris is going to be a Mitzvah Rishon. So you're going back up the line again. So therefore, Rabbi Akiva said, no, make it completely parallel. Right? You're Rishon, you married a Rishona, your daughter was a Sheni, Shnia should marry a Sheni, and so on and so forth. Okay? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda b'shem Rabbi Yeshua Rav said, Halacha k'divrei Rabbi Eliezer, Halacha k'Rabbi Eliezer k'divrei Chachamim. Halacha k'Rabbi Eliezer, according to Chachamim, who said that all psulei kol are allowed to intermarry with each other. Makes no difference, right? Says the Gemara, where am I? Rabbi Yeshua Shmuel Bar Yitzchak said, it says, Lo Yavo Mamzer B'Gal Shem, Mamzer Minad Enter Congregation of God. So that he wants to say, Rabbi Yeshua Yitzchak, B'Kol Borei Nabo, he's not to marry definite Jews, a Mamzer, Bala Kol Safi, a mamzer can marry a Sufik mamzer. And we actually don't pass away. The Bavli rejects that premise, but the Yerushalmi seems to leave it intact. That a Sufik mamzer can marry a real mamzer, but we don't, again, as I said, we don't pass away. Says Mara, Talmudim learned over there. Sufik Mentishal Rishon, if a kid was born after a Yibum situation and the mother became pregnant, we don't know when the mother became pregnant. The kid might be a 9-month term baby for the first husband, or a 7-month term baby for the second husband, right? For the Yava. So it says Yoitzi. He has to divorce the Yavama because we don't know if his Yibum was valid or not. Because if the kid is raised from the first husband, then his Yibum is not valid, right? So he's got to divorce his wife. Right? Yotzi, Vavlad, kosher. The kid is kosher because obviously the kid is either for kosher from the first husband, kosher from the second husband, right? V'chayav and Ashim Toli, but they have to bring Ashim Toli lest they sinned, right? Because maybe she was already pregnant, and maybe by the time the Yom religion, so she was pregnant, so then she wasn't allowed to be Messiah, so they have to bring Ashim Toli to atone for the potential pitfalls. Now, Tani, Harishon Koshli Kohen Gadol, this kid, first kid born in this match, where it's a suffix from the first husband, suffix from the second husband, so the kid himself is okay, and if the brothers are Kohanim, so he's suitable to be a Kohen Gadol, even though we don't have any idea who his father was, right? But the second one is mamzer misafik. But the second one in the process is a safik mamzer, because if the yibum was good, so the second kid is also kosher, right? But the yibum was bad because there was a fetus. So then the second kid is a safik so is a mamzer. So since we don't know what the status is, so therefore the kid is a safik mamzer, right? I make myself clear?
No, if she was pregnant from the first husband, and he was yibum on her.
The second husband.
Yeah. So it's a toss. The Yibum doesn't really...
Yeah, but he remained with her afterwards, and they conceived another child.
They conceived another child a year later, whatever.
Yeah. So that kid's a suffix mamzer.
It's just an out-of-wed... Well, she's a widow from the first marriage, so it's an out-of-wed line.
Yeah, but this is her brother's husband. I mean, her husband's brother.
It's just...
right? So that's
the first one is suffix mamzer.
Why is it for a suffix mamzer? No matter what, it's a good kid.
Yeah.
It's either for a first husband or a second husband.
Well, let's say it's for the first husband.
So that's fine.
The sexual is just the relations, it's not the child.
Yeah. Okay? So in any event, Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, a mamzer b'safik, and he holds in any case of a safik mamzer, he's just okay. We don't pass him like him. We're machmer. But he says any safik mamzer is just okay. We just marry him. Because he learns a pasuk, and we might even learn whole like him the Raisa, just not the Rabbanan. That's really the reality. But he learns a pasuk that teaches us that mamzer is only the Vadai the Raisa. There's no such thing as safik mamzer the Raisa. Says the Gemara, Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, there is a concept of a Safik Kuti, a Safik Samaritan, and a Safik Cholo, where they make the coin on fit, but there is no such thing as a Safik Mamzer. Okay, so what do you do with that which it says in the Mishnah, Taban, over there in Kiddushin, so you'll see only Bavel 10 relations when it came up from Bavel. So that did Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Shmona, according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, two of the things in there are Safik Mamzerin. Shtuki Nasufi, somebody who's a foundling in the marketplace, and somebody who doesn't know whose father is. His father. Right? He doesn't know his father, so these are both Safik mamzers, right? And they mentioned it, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, you have to take them out, right? Because there's I'm not making myself clear. Let me start from Kaida Tzninon again. What about that we learned there? So you'll see no limbo Bavel. Tetai relations came from Bavel. Adaita Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Shmona. There are two types of Safik mentioned there. One is one where you just found the kid. The other is where the mother won't tell you the father was. right? She doesn't remember, she refuses to remember. So in any event, so there shall only be 8 mentioned there. And Al-Daita Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer's Tisha, Rabbi Lezer holds that if the mother tells you who the father is, that's good enough. So Machlokas said whether you believe the mother tell you the father was or not. So according to him, there are only 9 categories. They both agree, however, it would seem, that the 10th category is not valid. What's the 10th category?
Founding in the marketplace. Because you don't know.
Right, the founding is right. The founding is.
That's about. I mean, that's a subject that should be included.
It should be included, right? So that going to be a Tisha. This one, which is not included, is the Asara Yuchsi is not complete. There are only 9, right? So Daitin Rabbanan Asara, according to the rabbis who are going to be there are 10, but that's not good to everybody. So it says more. Amar Rabbi Chanina. Well, actually, that's just a statement. In other words, that even though the Mishnah says 10 Yuchsim, but it depends. You can count. According to Lezer Me'akal, really 8. According to Rabbi Gamliel, there was only 9. According to Rabbanan, there are 10. Anyway, says the Gemara. Amar Chinam Asdisa the Lok Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah it says a B'tzua Dakas L'at Mer Gioris. That's what it says. It's not like Rabbi Yehuda. To Rabbi Yehuda Omer Arba Kilo Sinun. It's called at 4 levels of congregation. I told you before. Kahal Kohanim. The congregation of Kohanim. Kahal Levim. The congregation of Levim. Kahal Yisraelim. The congregation of Yisraelim. Kahal Gerim. So Kahal Gerim means that the Gerim are called for themselves. And that's why Mamzeres can't marry a Ger Gioris, according to him. Right? According to Rabbanan. According to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbanan argue. Mesivin asks the question. Tabim Memches Malav. Mesivin de Rabbi Yehuda. They asked Rabbi Yehuda said, Abtsuadaka can marry Gioris. Just Mamzeres can't marry Gioris, according to him. Voxi doesn't say, Lo yavo p'tuadaka b'kal Hashem. What about I left something out. I didn't leave it out. The Gemara left it out. It's not my fault. But it says kohol 4 times. That's why I learned that 4 kohilos. Because it says kohol, 4 times kitetse. So they asked the kash on him, but it's not chamol state. It says it a 5th time. Lo yavo p'tuadaka b'kal Hashem. So it should be a 5th call. You're not off. Says about Psul Gufin. The Gemara gives here a slightly better answer. The Gemara says you can't compare. One call is a status thing. We're talking about 4 levels of status. When it says Psul Adaga can't call Hashem, it's purely a physical thing. Psul Aguf, so it's not comparable. No, it just doesn't fit into the parameters of the other 4. That's why I got another one for you. Voxi Barim Hashem Volem Dor Shlishi Volem B'Kal Hashem. Says again Kal Hashem. It says the 3rd generation of the Egyptians can come into Kal Hashem. It says Gemara, Ba'aseinun. That's different. There, it's a mitzvah saseh. The door shlish should come in Kal Hashem. We're looking for Kal where it says by lo saseh, low. That's what we're looking for Kal Hashem, not by the negatives, not by the positive. You understand? In other words, this last time it says Kal Hashem, it's not opposed to it says Lo Yavo Amoni Mohavim Kal Hashem, Lo Yavo Mamzer Kal Hashem, Lo Yavo P'tuadat.
By the 3rd generation.
Yeah, it says by 3rd generation they may answer, right? So we're looking for Kahal with a negative command. That's what sets up a barrier. The mitzvah says does not enough of a barrier to make a separate level.
It's a barrier for the first 3 generations, but that's not
Yeah, but that's not mentioned here. Okay? Says the Gemara, but the Rabbanan are pretty closer. Kilos, how the rabbis get 3 kilos. Kal Kohanim, Kal Levim, Kal Yisraelim, those 3 congregations of Kohanim and Yisraelim, because it says Lo Yavo 3 times. It says Lo Yavo 3 times, so you learn that there are 3 gradations. Okay? Says more further. Dilma is a story. Rabbi Yeshua, Veruba, Rabbi Yeshua the Great, Rabbi Yehuda Sir, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. This is not an exciting story, but it's a story. Habi Sivan. Habi Sivan, they were sitting. Rod Rabbi Yochanan ran up. Lachash Budne Rabbi Yosha, Ruba. And he whispered in Rabbi Yosha the Great's ear. Petsua Daka Kohen. If a Kohen has one of these wounds in the genitals, Maushi Sabaskin can marry the daughter of a Ger and Gioris. Not the Gioris herself. That's also for sure. What about the daughter of the Gioris, right? Amar Leis, Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi Yeshua, what do you say to you? What do you say? Amar Leis, Rabbi Yosef Rabba said to Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, Mila, Avot, the Naga Nagrin, that the carpenters have carpeted at, meaning the Talmud Chacham have tried to give an answer for it, for lo mafriklin, they can't answer it. Lo malik yoyches. He didn't ask about a koy married Yoris, she kazoinetz, because a Yoris is like a zone of his meaning, even though the doctor's not allowed to marry Yoris. The low bas Yisrael, nor did he ask me about marrying a regular Jewish girl. It should be shuhu mechal. It's going to make her chol if he has relations with her. That wasn't his question either. Lo mali bas gerim. He asked me only about bas gerim, and that's a good kasha. So this is about why it's a good kasha. Bas gerim Loki Yisraeli. She's the daughter of a ger. She's a regular Israelis already. So what's the havamina that Kohen can marry her? So there's more. It's not so pasha. Pasuk could be the question like Rabbi Yehuda. Elsewhere, Rabbi Yehuda said, "Bas ger zachar ke bas cholo zachar." The daughter of a ger who's a male is like the daughter of a cholo who's a male. So
the daughter of a ger.
The daughter of a ger who's a male is like the daughter of a cholo who's a male. Sorry, no, it's both comparable. Meaning that if the father is a ger, so the kid is also still considered to have residual gerus. Just like if the father is a chol, the kid has definite chalos, right? Right. What's a chol? The father was the product of a union between a kohen and a grusha, so the chalos passes down, right? So too the concept of gerus passes down to the next generation.
So the offspring of a ger, a girl cannot marry a regular kohen.
That's Gemara's kasha here. Oh yeah, Gemara's so Kohen Rabbi Yehuda, you can't marry a regular kohen. What about we don't pass away? But what if, I think we don't pass that way. I'm not so sure. I seem to recall that we might actually pass in that way. That the daughter of both a ger and gioris can't marry a kohen.
So what is the following generation?
Following generation, maybe. I seem to recollect that, but I could be wrong. In any event, so be that as it may, the bottom line is that he was asking the question about a p'tua daka who's not fully ois kohen, but is down a notch. Can he marry a bas gerim who's not fully a gioris, but is up a notch? Okay, and that was a question which nobody could resolve. So it says more again. It's going kohen shabal grusha holy bas ubas bas mouth. They're going to have relations with a divorcee, and they had a daughter, so she can't marry a kohen. But what about her daughter? Can she marry a kohen? Shocker, right? Once in kasher, once in puzzle. You said it's okay that the daughter of a cholo can marry a kohen. He asked, Manmar said she can't marry a kohen. What about the following statement? More from the Gemara Kiddushin. Bas cholo zachar, take the word eino. Bas cholo zachar, the daughter of a cholo who's a male. Chalola mikahuna eino. She's not a chalola from kuna. The dot at the end line is superfluous. She's not a chalola from the kahuna. Misrael mad poselis. Oh no, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Vaskol zachar. I'm confused. One second. Vaskol zachar.
Means that she can marry the kohen.
No, but she can't.
She can never.
Yeah, she can't. Yeah, it should be Bas Chol Zachar Chalola. Well, look at the Korban Eidah. The Korban Eidah says, Bas Chol Zachar Pesula Olam. The Korban Eidah is the sixth line down and the widest lines. It says Bas Chol Zachar Pesula Olam. The question is that Bas Chol Zachar is possible forever, right? So it sounds like only the daughter, the chol is possible. Not beyond that. The chalola mikana ein absula mishum amad posla. The chalola from, I was trying to avoid korbanei because it's complicated, but I don't think I can. Just a second. Okay, I think I'll have to do it because I thought I could get around it by just finessing it, but I can't like this. The Gemara, the Korbanei, the Gemara's kasha is, it says a bas chol zoch is psul olam. So it sounds like only the daughter herself, but not the daughter of the daughter. It says bas kol zoch. So the answer the Gemara gives is that there are two types of chalolos. One chalol is where this child was conceived as a result of an act of chalos, such as the Kohen with a grusha. The other is where the mother was a chalol, because she was the wife of a divorce. She was she was the wife of a Kohen, and while she was a divorcee, and then later on she got divorced and had a kid, not from the Kohen. Okay, so in that case, that Mandamer holds there's a difference. If she is this girl was conceived as a result of an act which created chalolus, so then even her daughter is possible. Okay, even her daughter, even the daughter's daughter, right? Even the daughter from the act's daughter is possible, right? The granddaughter is possible, right? But if it was a case where a woman was chalola, made a chalola, but later in life she had another kid, then her first generation kid is also to marry a Kohen. But the next generation kid, the granddaughter, even the Mandamer apostles, a bas chalol, says it's kosher here. Because when is he apostle bas chalol? Only when the first bas, the daughter, was a result of a chalolus union, then her daughter is also apostle. But if the first daughter was a result of a union which came subsequent to her mother becoming a chalola, then her granddaughter is kosher. Okay, that's what the Korbanei learns. I'm not even sure how the Korbanei's girsa goes. It says he took it from Kiddushin, but anyway, that's the gist of the sugya. Okay? Says the Gemara. So that's how he learns the sugya. Now, Rabbi Yaakov bar Ida b'shem Rabbi Yeshua bar Levi. Yaakov in the name of Yeshua bar Levi said, Ma'ater Yishpacha achas berodus. Now, rodus is roads. Korbanei changes it to Badorom in the south, but that's much less romantic than in roads. This is nice. They said that there's a Shaila, there's a family of Kohanim, that they may be married to Gioris. The Shach Rebbe is Rabbi Rumnus Levodka. Rebbe sent his Rabbi Rumnus, one of his aide-de-camps, to check her out. Ubodka, they found and they found that her grandmother was a convert when she was less than 3 years old. And she said, they said the granddaughter is okay, she can be married to Kohen, not to Kohen. Rabbi Yossi said he was machshir her like Rabbi Shimon, who says the Gioris at the age of less than 3.5 is kosher lakuna. You know why? Because she's still a psula, right? So therefore she can marry a Kohen. Amr Zir said Divrei Koli. No, everybody agree in this case. You know why? Because this is a different generation. Even those who would poll that a Gioris was a guy under 3 is pasul lakuna, which is how we paskin nowadays, would agree in this case for a different generation. How so? The Gemara is going to explain. Says the Gemara, hada, kehada, even though it says hacha, but Korbanei says kehada, like that, the Amr Rabbi Zir b'shem Rav Ada Rachma, and Rabbi Yudah Mata b'shem Rav, Rabbi Yudah is the client saying Rav, and Rabbi Yevamos said b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Vlad Bulgar is kosher. It's Yaber girls are Bulgaris, right? Meaning that a Kohen Gadol married a Bulgaris. It's not supposed to. Bulgaris over 12.5, or Psulim are already fading. He has to marry a girl under 12.5, right? So he's married her. So Lichora, the kid should be a cholo, right? Kid should be a cholo. Kid should be no good to marry a Kohen because it was a forbidden wedding. No, it's a chiddush. Shuba mikoach, she's kosher, the daughter. She below taseh shuba mikoach aseh. Because the Kohen Gadol has a mitzvah taseh not to marry a Bulgaris. Meaning it says, Hu isha b'vsula yikoach, he should marry a b'sula. From this he's right, and not a Bulgaris. But it's not a lav. Look, it doesn't say, like it says, he shouldn't marry an almana. It doesn't say he shouldn't marry a Bulgaris. It just say, marry a b'sula, right? So to lav haba miklau aseh, lav haba miklau aseh, which is an aseh. And an aseh cannot render a chalol, right? What can render chalos? But I transgress a lav with the woman. But if I only transgress a mitzvah aseh with the woman, it doesn't render chalos. Okay? That's what he says here. Any law which comes from an asay, it's only a mitzvah asay. With the kavasoa, kim b'sulami amavi kachisha. So to here when it says kim b'sulami amavi kachisha, below gioris, right? Not a gioris, right? It's not only a mitzvah asay for a Kohen not to marry gioris. So even if a Kohen did marry gioris, kol los asay shubam mikoach asay. Asay, any close asay which comes from an asay is an asay. So therefore, this Kohen married to the granddaughter of Gioris, certainly there's no problem in mishpacha. We assume the mishpacha, at least b'diavad is okay. Says more further, Hey, Rabbi Yesher, Yesher, Rabbi Shane. Any of you Shul Damar? You did? You did?
I did.
Okay, so I guess we'll stop here then. I hope we'll pick it up, finish the mission tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the kids.
Yeah, tomorrow's the kids.